Hey, look at this. We're doing a we're doing a brand new thing going live from the phone in vertical orientation. So apparently this shows up in a shorts feed, whatever that is, on YouTube. I act like I don't know what a shorts feed is. I act like I don't sit with my kids and scroll shorts on our big TV at home and giggle incessantly, because that's what we do. Come on in, let's talk about, quite a few things, actually. It's been about a month since I've been on YouTube. I took a break because I was like, fuck this place. YouTube is an addiction. As a creator, it's a dopamine addiction. It's an addiction to validation. It's an addiction to influence, and it's an addiction to likes. It's an addiction to views. It's an addiction to comments. And taking a month off where I just simply didn't do it was such a nice thing. And I'm only back, it's March 1st, I'm only back because honestly, I get a little fidgety, I get a little bored. I just want to talk about stuff. And I just read an article in the, oh, hi, Evan Fox. I just read an article in The Guardian about Jay Shetty. Do you guys know who Jay Shetty is? So Jay Shetty first showed up in my feed when I was doing a lot of Facebook back in the day, when Facebook was, Facebook's still our biggest platform, like 2.5 million followers, right? But nobody's really there anymore. Like they're all everywhere else, Instagram, TikTok, Shorts, those kind of things. But back then, this guy Jay Shetty would show up in my Facebook feed, and he was claiming to be, he's this Indian guy, very attractive, very well-spoken, pointed to some interesting things, and he claimed to be a guy who ended up dropping everything and becoming a monk in India. And that was his claim to legitimacy when he would then come and do the whole spiritual influencer thing. Which, by the way, that whole thing, so we're going to talk about, that's why I entitled this McMindfulness. There's an author here, I'm going to see if I can get him on the show, who wrote a book called McMindfulness about how our Western structures, like these big corporations and celebrities and all these bullshit fucking delusional entities, have co-opted mindfulness and sort of spirituality in general, and have turned it into another way to just continue to perpetuate just complete violence on humans in the form of suffering. And healthcare is really good at this. Like, if we just meditate a little, we'll get a meditation instructor in here and do some mindfulness, and you won't, you can be more productive and continue to produce revenue in the system where you're a raw material and a commodity, but it'll make you more resilient, and really it's just another way of perpetuating the delusion of these corporate entities and making us feel like we're doing something for ourselves. In reality, we're still in a entirely dysfunctional system, and we're allowing it. Now we're complicit, even more complicit in it than we were before. And we wonder why, well, there's still burnout and there's still misery and the system still sucks. So, well, we haven't transformed anything. All we've done is allowed them to co-opt something that is transformative, which is the ability to see into the fact that there is that the whole human condition that we accept as real, that we're separate individuals moving through space and time that can acquire stuff, is a delusion. And once we see how interdependent, interconnected, interwoven all of reality is, it's one kind of happening only now, always and eternally this. Well, then if we practiced medicine from that knowing, well, it'd be a very different system. And it certainly wouldn't be fucking private equity firms buying up physician groups, turning them into for-profit machines and putting their thumb on the fucking arteries of frontline practitioners. It wouldn't be that. But instead, it's like the private equity firms can buy a bunch of doctors and then talk about mindfulness. It is total and utter horseshit. Hi, Jesse. Hi, Jordan. Happy Friday. Hi, Barbara. I use Mook for everything these days. I'll be like, I'm McMotherfucking exhausted. Barbara Wheeler. I like that. I'm McLate for my fucking McMeeting. Hi, Secret Owl. So this new YouTube vertical thing it's a trial. It's kind of fun to see if we can reach people that normally we wouldn't reach. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting too, like, oh, am I becoming one of these fucking McMindfulness people that's like, we should, everything is non-dual. And then I look back at my last few videos and I'm like, no, I'm basically telling you, you don't fucking exist. Like, the most subversive thing that a human can do in this society and in this collective consciousness is look at their true nature. It's the most subversive fucking thing. And that's why it's so rare to actually look in and go, is there really a me here? In the sense that I've been conditioned since birth. Is there really any distance from experience? Is there really any separation between anything? Are objects real? Like, like that's subversive as fuck. And the people on YouTube who are telling you this kind of thing, like Angela DeLulo, and it's like they're doing a very subversive thing. But then you get these fucksticks like Jay Shetty who are making millions of fucking dollars peddling, plagiarizing, repackaging, and lying about their origins. So Jay Shetty's a great example. So he comes on and says, oh, I was a monk and all this. And it turns out, well, no, actually, he was in England. And no, actually, he said this monk, the first time he was ever exposed to a monk in 2007, and this happened. And nope, he was actually part of what was used to be called the Hare Krishna movement and is now called ISKCON. And so all this stuff, and then, so now he's like in every celebrity circle. He's on Ellen, and he's here, and he's there, and J-Lo has him to officiate her wedding, and this and that and this, and it's like you can just take a, yeah, inauthenticity, celebrity bullshit, McMindfulness, selling and selling and selling and selling. He has like a life coaching thing, and he has a thing, and look, great. And so you can make the argument, well, maybe it's helping some people, and maybe they're a little less, they suffer a little less. And a lot of what he says is in fact correct repackaging of ancient teaching. And so maybe this is a Trojan horse to, get it in front of people and they have a self-transformation. Sure, anything's possible. I mean, this is all one interwoven, interdependent happening. It's absolutely possible. But more likely, I think, is that people anesthetize with another bullshit message. He gets fucking rich. He takes advantage of people, which is what the allegations are. The Guardian article is really good about this. And then people suffer. And so what that kind of McMindfulness does is it keeps you fucking asleep because it says, oh, I can massage this part of my life and I can have this little self-help thing and I can do that. And like some of that stuff can be quite helpful because in the relative sense, like working on different aspects of the personality and how we're reactive and these kind of things and how we frame experience. Sure. But what that does, it keeps you in the self. It keeps you in this idea that there's something that can be fixed, that something is broken, that something can be better in the future. Okay, that's fine in a relative. What about in an absolute sense? There's no separate self. There is no future or past. There's only this. There's nothing broken. It's all happening perfectly. So when you actually realize that in the marrow of your bones, your actions actually start to change. It's a paradox. If everybody realized that, our healthcare system would fix itself because it would be an expression of us. The reason it's so fucked up is we are fucked up. Now, this is not self-blame. This is not one of the criticisms of this kind of way of speaking, and is very valid, is that, well, now you're taking a systems problem and you're making it our problem. You're blaming the victim of the system, right? Which is not even consistent with what you said in your moral injury video 4 years ago or whatever, where it's like, dude, stop blaming the victim, right? Well, okay, there's a nuance here, which is, I'm talking about all of us. Collectively, we generate our systems. Until we start to wake up personally, our systems are going to continue to fuck us in the ass because they are us. They're an expression of our own delusion. That medicine is a business somehow, that it's somehow about making money, or it's about a commodity, or it's about raw materials in and a product out. Is it really that? Is that what healthcare is? Let's see some comments here. Even Tony Robbins can't fix healthcare. Tony Robbins is a great example of, like, there's a lot of truth in what he says. There's a lot of, but dude, it's more massaging of this kind of self-help delusion that there's a self that needs help. There isn't. And Listen, that exploration, that unfolding of realization is incredibly painful because you give up everything you thought was real, everything you thought was true, and then what shows up is unpredictable. You don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what the next word out of my mouth is, and neither do you, honestly. You just think you do because we live in this, and this happens to me too. We live in this thought reflection where there's a sense of agency, there's a sense of a doer here, doing things, pulling strings, making words, having control. It's all an illusion. What's really happening? Total mystery. It's coming from nothing, going into nothing. You look for the self that's doing it and you can't find it. Anything you find is a thought or a sensation, not permanent, completely, radically impermanent, like a dream. Gets weird, doesn't it? But what is suffering? Suffering is the resistance of an identity, of an illusory identity to what is. That's just what generates suffering. That's what generates the heat of resistance. You feel it as suffering. This is what I've noticed over the last 3 weeks with me when I've been off, like not doing videos. When I feel something like in the body and it feels like suffering, like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like, what is it? I'm thinking about all this stuff and there's discomfort. That's the signal. The suffering is the signal that there's an identity there that was triggered. Some unconscious conditioning, maybe from childhood, maybe more recently, that's then fixated with thought. So the thoughts that are being generated are telling stories to try to distance from this uncomfortable sensation. The stories are believed, and then they beget more stories. And then you're still having the uncomfortable sensation, but now it's buried under all this thought. And the feeling that's there is suffering. Like, oh God, I'm suffering. So when you tune into your own suffering, then you use that as a car alarm. It's like a car alarm that's going off that there's a thief coming. And this thief is actually stealing your attention. And the thief is belief, it's thought, it's identity. Because, for example, let's say my belief structure unconsciously or consciously is that I'm a separate person who is a good person. Well, so what happens then when I go into a video meeting and I lose my temper? Because I'm angry because my boundaries have been violated and I haven't said anything for years in this particular relationship with a business partner or something, right? And I lose my temper and I start telling them exactly what I think in very blunt terms. And, this, you've done me wrong. Da, 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 da. Well, now the I'm a good person belief underlying, after you get off the call, meets with the reality of what just happened, which is I was direct, a little bit mean, and a bit ruthless in how I expressed my displeasure. So then you just feel like, oh, what is that? Why do I feel so terrible? Well, because you've just taken your identity and cognitively dissonanced with it by expressing in a completely different way to what you thought your identity was. But what came out was what came out. That was reality. It's the identity. That's belief. That's illusion. That's thought. So that dissonance now generates this feeling in the body somewhere of suffering and more thoughts to try to distance from the uncomfortable feeling. And this is how we're conditioned. This is the human operating system, and it happens from very, very young. So there may be for example, there may be a young conditioning where you realize you're unsafe if there's conflict. Like if you challenge an adult or you challenge another child and they start to try to hit you, or the parents yell at you, or worse yet, you're abused physically, sexually, whatever. Then as an adult, you might find that you are a people pleaser. You try to validate, you try to avoid conflict, those kind of things, because you learned as a child that that's what you need to do to keep you safe. So now what happens? Now you get into a conflict, something happens as an adult, and afterwards you feel you're just like really unhappy. Well, why is that? Because now you feel unsafe. In the deepest sort of conditioning, you feel unsafe. Now, what is this? It's all conditioning. It's all story. It's all belief. It happened very young. It's energetic. It actually is a kind of pattern of energy that you can feel in the body. And thought is energy too. All of it, everything is energy. I mean, Einstein said that. So when that happens, if we can see it, if we can stop and actually feel into it and go, They're suffering. Okay, I recognize that, step one. Step two, okay, what is it? It's this feeling in the body. Okay, then are there beliefs around that that are popping up? Yeah, it's that I shouldn't have said that in that meeting, or gosh, now I'm in trouble, or gosh, now I'm unsafe, or whatever it is. And then, okay, examine that. Is that true? Is that true? Okay. And then if things get overwhelming, drop back in the body. Okay, what's going on right now? What's going on right now? Am I in danger? Are things safe? I'm in a room, it's quiet, feeling the energies in the body. And this kind of practice can be very powerful, investigating the beliefs, noticing that they're suffering, digging into it. And then something interesting starts to happen. We start to act increasingly in a spontaneous way. So if we do something where we overstep, where we hurt someone else, it becomes intolerable. And we will naturally act to make it right, whether it's apologizing, whether it's clarifying. So for me, this happened in a meeting recently where I let them have it, and then I felt in the body, and I was like, even during the meeting, and I was like, okay, it's time to pivot into something more compassionate here, because this needed to be said. But now there's other things that need to be said, which need to make sure the other people know it's not about them. This is about this situation. And then actually turn it back and go, the anger that you're seeing is actually not about you, it's about me. It's self-directed anger because I should have seen this earlier. I should have said something earlier. I should have set boundaries earlier. I should have asked questions earlier. And I didn't, because I took an easier route, which is to validate and make everybody comfortable. And now I'm mad. I'm mad at myself, which again is not necessarily fair, because this was all innocent. This is all our conditioning. But that's what's arising, is anger at self, and I'm projecting it. So honesty starts to happen, authenticity starts to happen, and you don't have a choice anymore. It's really hard, really one of the hardest things you'll do. And then you have fucksticks like Shetty and these McMindfulness people out there giving you bullshit that's really designed to keep you from looking deeper, to keep actually them making money, them as the spiritual authority. There is no fucking authority except for you. There isn't. You have all the authority you need right in front of you. Don't listen to me. Feel into yourself. Feel into this moment. That's all. That's it. Feel everything right now. And yeah, things will pop up on your YouTube feed that might help you. They might be a little bit of a transmission here and there that can get behind the conceptual mind, because concepts can't touch what reality is. Reality is non-conceptual. It cannot be touched with thought. It is what it is. There's no other way to say it, and it won't make sense until you look. Disarm the mind. Just stop. Stop labeling things. Stop thinking about things. Stop trying to make distance. Stop not trying to make distance, and just see what's here. That's all you can do. And if that doesn't make sense, that's okay. That's normal. And then some point it just, and you see things as they are. And that's, in one manner of speaking, awakening. And then the mind comes back, and then you go again. And if you think it's a one and done, it's not. It never is. I'm sorry. The human condition is a journey from here to here, from where you never left. But it can feel like something much different from the standpoint of our minds. Monica says, for what it's worth, I do not like these narrow TikTok-ish videos. Subscriber to UTIE. I don't know what UTIE is, but that's good feedback. This is the first time I've done this via phone. YouTube says, give it a try, because it's a new algorithm. And I'm just kind of bored, honestly, of the usual shit. Like, honestly, I told Risa, my right-hand woman, that, I could just stop doing all this and it'd be okay. Like, my identity is no longer centered around being the guy on YouTube that teaches or does whatever. So, like, I'm turning down doing talks and all this stuff because it doesn't feel authentically like what I want to do. But this, like, vertical video thing, I was like, oh, I'll give that a try. And as I'm talking, it feels good. It feels like whatever's coming out of my mouth is authentic. So I keep doing things like that until they feel dumb, and then I'll stop doing it. But that's really good feedback. Jordan says, UTIE equals urinary tract infection electronic, question mark? It's like when automakers put E at the end of a normal model and it designates the plug-in hybrid version. I've been researching cars lately because mine are so old and I need new ones, or a new one at least, because daughter's getting old enough to drive. Maybe that's a belief I need to investigate. Do we even need a car? Yeah, we do, because we live in America and you can't get from A to B with public transport around here, even in the Bay Area. John Pienta, I'm glad you're bringing attention to this. Healthcare is broken. I tried to be a part of it. I just wanted to help. Deemed too emotional and too sick to be a resident, so they booted me. John, okay, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be super blunt with you. I don't know why this is arising, but it's arising. So, reading your comment, when I worked in, like say, at the major academic center and supervised residents and interns and stuff, if a resident or intern had said something like this to me, I would have tried, I would have immediately said, okay, so they're not resilient enough to cut this. They don't have what it takes. They never should have gotten through. They're just weak. They're not a wall. They can't cut it. That's what I would have thought in the 2000s when I was doing this. And after this journey with me, like what I see when I read your comment is like a beautiful, sensitive human being who sees that the system is fucking trash, destroys humans, is part of human delusion. Collective consciousness is the sum total of all our delusion. And that good, kind person who just wants to help people sees it, is so hurt by it, and can't assimilate into it, can't change themselves to make themselves work in that kind of system. And the system rejects them. And honestly, John, it is a fucking gift that you received, because that again, it's not a place for you. That system, that thing. Now, there may be another aspect of healthcare that is a perfect fit, but whatever you were in. And so to be free of that is actually a huge gift. And you will never hear people say that, because we're so conditioned to think, man, you got to tough it out and you just got to get through it and you can't be weak and you can't, and especially if you have any mental health issues or anything like that, no, fuck that. Like that's the conditioning, right? It's a total lie, a total delusion. So thanks for sharing that comment. For me, it took, like I did tough it out. I played all the games and that was part of it. It's like, that's why I would react in that way back then, because I was like, dude, I fucking sucked it up, and these people are saying they can't handle it and they need a mental health day and all that. And it's like, fuck you, dude. I put in how many mental health days did I forego to fucking destroy my mental health doing this shit? Like that's how it felt. And it's all about reactivity. It's all about suppressed rage, suppressed hurt, suppressed sorrow. It's all about emotional repression. Like that's the game, right? And now I'm 50 and I can look back and see it mostly clearly. I'm still still get wrapped in delusion and reactivity, but now I just don't give a fuck. Now I'll like talk about it on YouTube and who cares, man? Like if someone gets helped by it, great. If no one gets helped by it, who cares? I have to just express whatever's going on there. I'm not in control of any of this, John says, 2 of my best friends in med school died by suicide. I don't want to give up because of that, but they made the choice for me. So I guess I'll figure out what's next. Yes, it is a gift. Oh, John, I'm so sorry. I was just talking to Angela about this, who's also a physician. In medicine, we are so fucking delusional. The system is so delusional that people just involute. They try to function. It's so cognitively dissonant that we're trying to help people, and yet this is what's happening, that we have one of the highest rates of suicide. These are smart, good people. I was recently talking to a friend whose classmate had died by suicide recently, And they were saying this classmate was like a surgeon, was like top of their class, was loved by everyone, was super generous, super compassionate. Nobody knew how they were suffering. Probably not even them, because we deny our own suffering too, until it's too late, until it becomes just a loop of thought, belief, thought, belief, thought, belief, thought, belief, until it's like the only way that it feels like we can escape is by an act like that. And we never are given the tools, resources, and autonomy to look in and go, are any of these beliefs true? And then you have McMindfulness people like Shetty, like selling their shit to organizations, life coaching, basically fucking polishing this turd of human delusion into a fucking gleam. Does it solve this problem, John, that you're pointing at? No. Just perpetuates it, keeps us asleep. It's awful. It's awful. Risa says, with the achievement mindset, it's so easy to push those feelings down, but they always come back up. That's it, right? And we all, in medicine, in healthcare, we all have this achievement mindset. And it's shame-based, it's like unworthiness-based, it's, so we keep trying to accomplish to outrun the demons, right? But as my friend Doc Vader recently said, the demons always win. They're still there. They're not going anywhere, right? So let's see. Jennifer says, it's sad to hear our healthcare people are going through this. I mean, this is healthcare system 101. You know, I like to name drop my friend Sam Shem, who wrote The House of God. I realized I was about to say my friend Sam Shem, and then I was like, that's just such a name-dropping, douchebaggy, Shetty thing to do. Me and Ellen DeGeneres were hanging out the other day, and she told me, fuck Ellen DeGeneres, too. Apparently she's a total psycho bitch on top of everything. I think celebrity, let me tell you, having dabbled in this, celebrity is a disease. It is, again, the achievement mindset, the validation mindset. We don't question our beliefs, you know? One of the biggest reliefs for me was as it started to fall away, the caring about this. And then I could just do it for fun. And it's just like, oh, fuck yeah. It's always been kind of fun, but it's also kind of work, and it's also kind of fucking addictive. And then it's also kind of an identity. And then when it doesn't succeed in some way, like, oh my God, like, you know, this person does it and he does it better, or she does it better. And I'm like, fucking, you're gonna go. It's just suffering, because we're the cognitive dissonance of what I think I'm supposed to be, what I think people want from me, what expectations are, and then what I am don't line up. And I don't know, yesterday I was at home and I was like, I should probably make a video. Tomorrow's March 1st. I should probably do something. I haven't done anything for a month. And I was like, why? Says who? Oh, but you know, and then, you know, the argument will be, well, but you got to survive, right? You got to make money. You got to, like, people will say, well, I can't just quit my job. I can't do that. That's all true. But you can show up every single day in full presence as much as you can, acting spontaneously and authentically, knowing what's real and what's delusion, or at least looking constantly, searching constantly for, okay, what's real and what's imagination, what's thought, and showing up in the world. And yeah, you can do a job, and yeah, you can make enough money to support you and your family. You can do those things. You don't have to give all that up, right? But forcing yourself, torturing yourself based on belief, based on a story, based on an identity that's illusory, why? Take it from me, bitches. God damn it, I tortured myself through my 20s. Graduated, okay, I enter UC Berkeley in 1991. I go through, in my sophomore year, I fuck up and get B's for the first time in my life. OChem, physics, math, all this shit, I'm starting to get B's, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I feel like my entire worldview falls away. Like, I was the smartest kid, and now I'm just fucking average. And I'm in this public school with 30,000 other students, and they're all trying to get into medical. There were like, I think there were 600 people in my just graduating major of many majors that were pre-meds. And they all wanted to go to UCSF medical school and Stanford and all these places. And here I was getting B's. And so I was like, well, fuck this. Something clicked and I'm like, no, I will not fail. And I turned it up to 11 and I graduated in 3 years with a major and a minor. And I did an honors thesis and I did research in a lab. And I got this great letter from this beautiful professor, James Fristrom, who was genetics, taught intro genetics, and was such a mentor and role model to me because he told me, because I tried to lie to him. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm interested in research when I was trying to sign up in his lab, because you got to get volunteer research. And he's like, no, you're not. You're a pre-med and you're supposed to be a doctor, but that's okay because I'll teach you some shit. Fucking amazing human being, him and his wife and his family and the team there. So you find these mentors, but it was an achievement mindset. So I grinded it out in 3 years. Graduated, spent the 4th year doing research and applying to medical school, took the MCAT, did okay on the MCAT, didn't do amazingly, but then was asked to teach MCAT at the MCAT PrepCat course that I took called the Berkeley Review. Taught MCAT, which helped me learn how to stand in front of an audience, improv comedy, teach. So that was like grind through that. So scared in front of those students because they were my peers and I'm teaching them how to ace the MCAT. And my only credibility was I'd gotten into UCSF medical school because I got a great letter from this guy and I had decent enough grades in MCATs and I'd done some other things in research, but that was because I fucking tortured myself. and so, grind through that, teach these students who are all smarter than me. And that's what it feels like. So just like full of shame and doubt, but then go up there and fake it until you make it. Then learn to make people laugh a bit more, try to put them at ease, because that's people-pleasing validation that came from when I was young, getting bullied or watching, parents fight or whatever it is, feeling unsafe. Okay, make everyone comfortable. And then medical school, which was a mix of the best times of my life because I met some of the best people and we had fun and it was our 20s, just having to be young in your 20s, being able to drink, being able to go do things that you couldn't do, having that independence. So that was nice, but medical school itself was a fucking torture chamber. Like the science, you could just tell, like they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And the hierarchy of it and the kissing of the ring of, having to be, I was told in medical school, by an attending, you speak and then think. You should reverse that. Or better yet, just think. Basically, shut up. He was probably right. But so torture, and stay up all night. And your first night is call, and as a third year, there weren't work hours and all that, and you just suffer through it. And then residency was a relief, actually. Although I can't tell you for sure because I don't remember any of it. So think about this: 3 years of residency in internal medicine at Stanford. I don't remember a fucking thing about that experience. Isn't that crazy? I met my wife. We were both interns, right? So I remember meeting my wife. I remember stuff about my wife, but don't remember residency. Why would that be? Could it have been that I was so shut down that I was using humor as a coping mechanism? People thought I was funny and all that, but I don't remember any of it. Why? Because I was making distance from an experience that was fucking torturous. Where every day, people's lives are in your hands. How are you going to deal with that when you already feel kind of inadequate and scared? And by all accounts, I did fine. But fuck if I remember it. And the things that I do remember aren't good. But then something interesting happened. Then I took a job as a hospital. Well, actually, that's not true. I worked in tech for a year after I graduated because I was done. I was like, I knew I was burned out. I was like, I don't remember what burned me out, but I'm burned out. I worked in tech, a couple startups for a year, med education stuff. And honestly, it was challenging, but also easy. There was no sense of real purpose there. I missed the human aspect of medicine. And so I went back and took a hospitalist job at Stanford for a private group, actually, called Palo Alto Medical Foundation. And I got to say, like, for the first few years, I had never felt more in my calling. Like, so I had it was a semi-academic position, so I had interns, residents, medical students that I supervised on a team. So there was this teaching aspect. There was a team-based aspect. The residents and medical students kept me engaged and feeling young with the latest thing, even as I got older with them. We had lower volumes of patients, so I could spend time with the patients. I felt connected to the patients. The best part of my day was noticing that we were in this whole team in the hospital, and the social worker and the case manager and the PT and the patients and radiology and the team that just would change. There was always novelty. There was always teaching. There was always connection. There was enough time to spend with the patients. I could sit down instead of standing and doing a U-turn at the foot of the bed. There was enough variety that made it interesting, and the electronic medical record was still read-only. It hadn't made us type yet, so it was perfect. It was bliss. I had a little diary at the time, and I said, I'm the luckiest man alive, that after being through all that agony and wondering, should I even be a doctor? Like, this is a calling. I'm good at this. I love it. It's beautiful. And so that lasts for a few years until it doesn't. Then things change. EHR, productivity, corporate medicine, volume goes up. They took away our house staff the last couple of years I was there. They were like, you know what? We're just taking the house staff away from this group, and you guys will just be attending only. And I realized, wow, now I am just a cog in a machine. I'm totally expendable, not teaching, don't have time with the patients. It's a total corporate machine. Yeah, I'm making money. Yeah, I got a great retirement plan. But I was suicidally depressed. I mean, like, just I couldn't see how I was going to continue until retirement. This was around, I don't know, late 2000s. And that's when this ZDoggMD thing started. And I just snapped and started making, and that's, started making videos just as like, okay, well, what am I? Who am I? So then the identity of the guy who makes videos, funny videos on YouTube came up. And then I was trying to defend that identity, because the doctor identity it was clear that was starting to crumble, the full-time practicing doctor identity. And so you go through, I mean, this is the journey of life. This is the hero's journey of being a human, right? And then at some point there's awakening. And that's just one glitch, because then awakening is a whole unfolding of realization. Like, to talk about it this way is very misleading. There is no event called awakening. There is no one who wakes up. What happens is this presence suddenly recognizes itself in everything, and recognizes that what it thought it was, this, is nothing but an appearance, a bundle of energy and conditioning. Then all the conditioning that you've been avoiding, all the trauma, all the emotion, all the repression starts to arise, and you feel it fully. You can't avoid it. And then you go through that. So in medicine, do we all take this journey this way? No. I think many of us continue to play the expectations game. And again, this is all innocent. It's just our conditioning and our path. And it just leads to so much suffering. You feel it when you talk to other doctors. When I talk to other doctors that are just still deep in the matrix of this, you can feel the signature tone of suffering, of repression, of avoidance, of denial, of identity. And so if there's one thing I kind of feel like there is a calling here to do, it's to talk about this shit point blank, as bluntly as I can, so that 3 people who listen will be like, fuck this, I don't know. John says, every moment a new lifetime, every frame a painting. There it is. That's it. And mysterious beyond mysterious, right? Beyond mysterious. Like, what is this? Bob says, you are walking grace. Thank you for being this candid. Timing is everything. Smiles at you, brother. So Bob, timing is everything. Isn't it strange how just what you need to hear shows up? Isn't that something? I've noticed that here in my life, just what I need, just when I'm having a difficult time of it. The last few weeks have been hard for me, honestly, like a lot of anger, like repressed anger, a lot of feeling like realization never happened, like feeling as contracted as possible. And that's because these deeper identity structures had been triggered in me that I defended for years and years and since childhood. And they feel very contracted. And you can't you can't avoid them anymore because you feel everything. You can't just race into thought to avoid it. And so it just feels like suffering. And you got to just let it play out, look at it, try to apply some discernment, talk to some people. I talked to Angelo DeLulo about it, who's been on my show many times. Just Simply Always Awake is his YouTube channel. Every time I talk to that guy, I'm just shocked at how clear he is because he's been through all of it and he continues to go through it. I mean, it's just remarkable. So find those people. You know, they show up, they find you. When the student's ready, the teacher appears. You know, just don't let it be Jay Shetty, that fucking ass clown. Excuse me. I have full-blown croup. Golf Spot says, you look like a doctor. This? Are you kidding? Really? I feel like I've lost that identity. You know, I don't know. James says nearly 100%. Oh, identify 100%. I was a PA, evolved into a cog, lost capacity to live my calling. This is not uncommon. That doesn't mean you can't find another aspect of medicine that doesn't fit. Doesn't mean you can't find another job that fits. But sometimes it means just being like, clink, unplugging from the matrix and just saying, fuck it. I need to go do what's calling to me now. Whatever that is. It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. LJ says, I needed to hear this again. Please post this video later. I think it stays available on my channel. I don't think it disappears. Jennifer says, same, my anger has been rolling this week. It's something, anger. Because it's a boundary defense. It's a natural emotion. But when we repress it, it comes up eventually, and it can come up in these very volatile ways. Yeah. RA says, how are your folks? What a beautiful, kind question. My parents are in their 80s. I think my mom's like 81. My dad's 83. And actually, she's 80. They live together in the family home that I grew up in Clovis, California, out in the sticks. Unincorporated Clovis, well water and all that. And, you know, it's this nice little old 1970s ranch house on a couple acres of orange orchard, or all the orange trees died. And they manage. My dad got quite sick the last couple of years, got COVID, got pneumonia, has COPD, not from smoking, but from living in the Central Valley of California, which is so polluted. It gets a lot of LA's smog. It's like a basin. There's a lot of agricultural dust and waste. And so it's been hard for them, but somehow they manage it. It's just remarkable. You know, they talk about people who have suffered. And listen, look, I don't give them a pass, because when I was young, you know, they would fight and stuff in front of us, and it was really traumatic in a way that I didn't understand until recently. But it's not their fault. Like, the kind of shit they had to go through, the shit of being immigrants, coming here, doing second residency here, like raising 3 kids, all that shit. Like, I wouldn't want to do that. So their innate resiliency, innate strength is a wonder to behold, right? And it's all got this kind of karmic resonance because it's so interdependent with me and my own family and all of it. And it's like, wow, the more you see it, the more you're just like, wow, layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. But yeah, they're doing okay. I worry though. You know, I always keep my phone, like my phone is on Do Not Disturb constitutively, but I have a few people who can break through, and they're only family. So I leave the thing on at night. So if I ever get a call, you know, I'm ready to go. Because it's just like that now, right? People in our age and generation. John again says, the realization to me is that I'm not in the matrix. I am the matrix. Thank you. That's it. We are all our own matrices intersecting. This is how you can meet people truly living in their own world that seem completely different. Exactly. There is no single matrix. Although there's a social matrix that we're in complicity with, but we are generating it collectively. Individuals are generating together this social matrix, and then we go into complicity with other humans, apparent other humans. And you're right, there's no one matrix. Each of us is living in a matrix of our own creation. But the thing is, we're not doing this consciously. This is how human thought works. Human thought is the sixth sense. It's another appearance, just like sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. It's another appearance. But the difference is it's reflective of the senses, the other senses, and it's reflective of itself. So it can generate a kind of standing wave of belief and identity and reality that spins up the entire world. So when I say look at things non-conceptually, it means look at things not through the lens of consciousness or thought, but through the lens of no lens, just as they are. And this is not something you can consciously do, because that's a trying through the mind. It's, again, in consciousness. It's a kind of relaxing, a letting go, a stopping, a surrendering. And then everything is just as it is. There's, again, not a good other way to say it than everything is just as it is, without the label of thought, seen not through the lens of concept. So distance, space, time, name, form, all that fall away, and it's just this. A kind of radiance. And even that's saying too much because it's conceptual. This is why they say, Morpheus in the Matrix says, I cannot tell you what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. Sue Mosley, still dancing to move stuck emotions? The best, yeah. So movement has been great. Like, for me, what I found sometimes is I'll just, like when everyone's out of the house, I'll just sit in a chair and scream. It'll just come up and then just start moving. Intuitive movement, those kind of things, very powerful for releasing some of that. Oh, thanks for the wishes for my parents, you guys. Have you ever been to Portland, Oregon, Grumpy Bear? Yes, I've done a few talks in Portland. It's a beautiful city. Lovely place, actually. Going back here, Jay Shetty. Yeah, the expose on Jay Shetty is in The Guardian. You can search it. It's like the higher consciousness of Jay Shetty or something. I forget what it was. I remember even the first few times I saw that guy, I was like, this guy is fucking charlatan. You know who is another? I don't give a fuck. It's actually considered verboten to talk about other spiritual teachers, but I'm not a spiritual fucking teacher. Spirituality is bullshit. It's not a thing. This that I'm pointing at is not spiritual. What does that even mean? Angela says this very well. If this is spiritual, then everything is spiritual. It's just reality. So the other guy is Sadhguru. That guy is a fucking fraud. And I know like a lot of people will be like, oh, he's really helped me and so on. It's like, that's great. Let it go. I'm just telling you, let that shit go. Because that is fucking bullshit. That's another celebrity baiting. It's all spiritual ego. You can feel it through the thing. Now, again, this is talking from me I know ego. Like, it just drips with spiritual narcissism. I don't know another way to say it. Spirituality is another thought-based human delusion. It's just like, okay, we're going to take the same human bullshit and we're going to package it in a way that makes it feel nicer with some self-help shit, throw a few celebrities in, and we'll make a ton of money. Deepak Chopra, these guys. Now, that's not to say that everything they say is bullshit. It's not. They're actually taking a lot of ancient truth and packaging it. That's fine. So you can find the truth in there. For sure. Jay Shetty, too. Like, absolutely. But stay longer and you start to pick up, okay, once again, who is this person I'm trying to fix? Why are you making me feel inadequate? Like spiritually imperfect? Like there's some ideal that you're supposed to strive for? How are you an authority? Like, what does that even mean? Right? And what the living fuck? Yeah, Sadhguru is a shithead. Plus, he probably, I can't say this because it's considered slander, but read the articles online. Just Google, did Sadhguru murder his wife? Start there. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I have no idea, but just do that Google search. Guy's a fucking, these people, man. And the thing, and this is why I'm upset about this. And again, I'm taking a stance here in the relative about this because why the fuck not? We have to also educate and entertain. That's part of the thing. I can't just be fucking empty and sit here and go, there's no truth and blah, because fuck that. The reason this fucking upsets me is that people who fall into those circles they stay in the delusion, maybe worse, because now it's a spiritual delusion. And these people keep them asleep. Not intentionally, maybe intentionally. Who knows what intentions are? Doesn't matter. This is the result. And until they find something that clicks them out of it. And maybe it's a bald guy saying, fucking let that shit go. Yeah, it's better than, your typical rat race delusion, but not by much. And in fact, it has its own fixations that'll keep you asleep. You really want to know what reality is, you got to do it yourself. People can show up and they can transmit, and you can find teachers, and that can be very powerful. You can have a tradition like Zen or Christian mysticism or Kabbalah, or anything. It's all fine, but all of this has its trappings. Buddhism has its total religious-y aspects that make it another packaging of self-help in some circles. And there's not, fine, it's all fine, right? But it depends on what you're looking for or what the goal is. If the goal is to see reality clearly, yeah, that's not going to do it. If the goal is liberation from suffering, that's not going to do it. It'll take some of the rough edges off, maybe. That's McMindfulness, right? It's like they're packaging this thing as some kind of self-help. You can't help the self. It is fucking beyond hope. It is not real. It never was. So what are you trying to help? And yet, that's easy for me to say. If you've had trauma, if your self is still kind of trying to figure shit out, you got to go through that first. You do have to do that kind of self-improvement, self-growth, self-help, yes. And you don't want to bypass the self because it's always the appearance will still be there. And then you just become a spiritual asshole. You can wake up and see reality clearly and still be a total cocksucker because you haven't allowed all the conditioning to come up. You haven't kind of seen through some of these knots and fixations, and you're blind in a way, and the delusion's still there. Now it's a spiritual delusion. Now instead of a regular ego, you have a spiritualized ego, which is in many ways worse. Christine says, I gave up being a medical lab technologist after about 18 years to become a welder because I was at the same point you got to. I love what I do now, and I'm treated better by my coworkers and my managers. I love that. I love it. From medical lab tech to welder. And the joy is coming off the comment. Find your thing. It takes a kind of courage. It's a kind of deep faith that life knows what it's doing. And if you trust it, if you surrender to it, it's telling you everything you need. It's telling you in the body. It's telling you in the sensations. It's telling you in your visual field. It's telling you in the sounds. It's showing you what it is in every moment. Just this. Now, here, this. Hey, welcome to the Super PAC. Welcome to join the Supporters Club, James Vermeulen. That's our group that we do lives for and stuff, and get a little, I was going to say we get real candid, but this is about as candid as we get. Like what I'm saying now is how we usually do it. I don't know if there's a distinction anymore, but I appreciate your support. I'm going to use it on hookers and blow. John says the first in line to the Tao Te Ching is, the first line is, and then this is it, this is a famous one, right? The Tao which can be spoken is not the true Tao. You can't say a word about this. You can only point with the monkey mouth. That's it. Maria Dodd says, we're lucky to have found Angelo. Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing. He is a gift, but be careful. Don't put him on a pedestal. Don't make him another thing. Don't make him an authority. Allow him to be what he is, which is just what he is. And he can point clearly in a way that we can then do that work, you know, and look. That's what's beautiful about him, and he would never claim otherwise. R.A. Hess, getting caught in a web of words, and how does your history in Zoroastrian impact you now? So I was raised as Zoroastrian, which is an ancient religion. The basic tenet is good thoughts, good words, good deeds. It's a dualistic religion, so there's like a Ahura Mazda, the good deity, and somebody that's the bad deity that I don't know the name of. And I'm not doing this justice because I don't know shit. But I would say I was never religious, really. For very long, I was often agnostic atheist, and then later in life realized what people are calling God, and this is my own realization, doesn't mean it's true. This is what's come to me, is what people are calling God is actually can be experienced as the contentless, open, spacious, infinite, awake presence of being, and it makes up everything. And I think in Christian theology they sometimes call this like Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You know, that's the Father being, and then the Son is being in action, like consciousness. In Hindu mythology, it's Satchidananda, being, consciousness, bliss. In Christian theology, it's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So what is that? It's this infinite sense of being, presence, then coming into form in the form of this. It's kind of thoughts and forms, consciousness. And bliss is a kind of mistranslation. Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, those kind of things. That's the energetic flux that feels like love, feels like, it can feel blissful. It can also feel like energy of the flux of being into this. I don't know how to talk about this. It's very hard to talk about, but you feel it. Now, what's interesting is being, consciousness, bliss, even beyond that, and this is conceptual, but it's using concepts to point at something that can't be spoken. Beyond that, what allows being to be? What is the Godhead? What allows God to be God? From where does God come? In Hinduism, they call it Para Brahman. In Zen, maybe the unborn. The unmanifest is how Eckhart Tolle might point at it. And this is beyond descriptions, but it's knowable because it's what we ultimately are. And it's not an identity. It's the, how do we even talk about it? This is a fool's errand, but let's try. There's a kind of no thing potentiality where thought can't go. There's no experience there. But every experience, including the thought the space, the space between thoughts, just unbound consciousness, just awake presence. Some people experience as God or I am. Even that is an emergent of this field of potentiality that's not a field, that's not in space and time, that is so thoroughly beyond, and yet right here, in and as everything. That's what McMindfulness would never have you see, would never have you dissolve into. That's the truth that obliterates all conception, all self-help, all space and time, all human ideas, all better than and worse than, all dualities are emergence of this that is beyond duality, beyond good and bad, beyond yes and no, beyond black and white. Eternal, timeless. Bet you wish you didn't ask that question now. Secret Owl. I have friends who are ignored and abused by their fathers. They seem to have created the perfect father in their head, one they can talk to that listens, etc., aka Jesus. It's beautifully put. One thing I want to say about what you said is when there's a perceived lack or a perceived separation, it starts very young, right? Like that, like maybe not the perfect dad, whatever. We learn very quickly to escape from that perceived imperfection into thought, where we create a world. And that world can be imaginary father, it can be perfect father, it can be perfect mother, it can be safety, it can be all the things we want. And we learn to escape into thought to avoid the discomfort of the real. But what we don't really see clearly at the time is that that discomfort itself is a thought. It's a perceptual bias or filter that occurs in consciousness. The actual raw sense data of reality in every moment is perfect. It's beyond comfort and discomfort. So when we stop the labeling, that can actually be apperceived as just directly, whoa, there's nothing wrong here. And so those feelings that we call uncomfortable can be felt fully. That gnawing feeling of anxiety. Oh, what happens when you really feel it without any labels like anxiety, without any sense of future and past, like, oh, will this ever go away? This was like that one time. Forget all that. What is it right here, right now? No concepts, no labels, feel it. See what happens then. Because when we stop falling into the conditioning of escaping into thought from discomfort, and we look at the discomfort fully and allow it to be everything, the only sensation in the universe, what's that about? I don't want to say more about it because you have to do this. You don't have to do anything, but you have to do this. Glenda, nobody hates you. That's a belief, that's a thought. Be careful though, because do you hate yourself? And are you projecting this out? And Glenda says, Jesus loves you. I'm sure he does. Let's see. Yeah, John says, like a feeling of total homeness, almost the opposite of homesickness. That's right. It's a feeling of being completely at home. It may remind you of very early childhood, how it felt when you were just in the wonder of it all. That's what this is. So what do you guys think of this weird vertical live YouTube video thing? Is it a thing or should we never do it again? Oh boy. Here come the Free Palestine people. That whole thing is a mess. Talk about human delusion all over the place there in the Middle East for years and years and years. Yeah. Ooh, auto electrician, how you doing? All right. Well, I think we did a thing. Our first vertical live YouTube video. I said all the fucks. I took a shit on Jay Shetty, who's a piece of fucking shit. Sorry. I really shouldn't talk like that, but because he's doing what he's conditioned to do. But my warning to you guys is be discerning. Take the pieces that point well and recognize what's going on. That's all. With all spiritual teachers, be really careful. Listen to what I'm saying the same way. And I'm not claiming to be a spiritual teacher, but maybe that means I'm just trying to fool you, right? Just pay attention. You have all the tools you need. You have all the tools you need. Glenda says, P.S. Don't cuss. Fuck you, Glenda. No one fucking tells me what to do except for me and my wife and my kids. And anyone else can fuck off. I don't care who Jesus loves. Sometimes it feels good just to totally go full taboo, like do something that society says you're just not supposed to do. Like just tell a very sweet person there to fuck off. Why not? She won't take it personally. Or maybe she will. Don't be sorry, Glenda. I'm just fucking with you. That's the other thing. It becomes clear. It becomes clear that the universe is really funny. Nothing really matters. We can fuck around with each other and still be unconditionally loving. Like, Glenda, I unconditionally love you. And no, it's not your fault, Glenda. I can see your comment. It's not your fault. You're a sweetheart. Yeah, and that's it. Marianne says, there's a lot of weird shit on here today and it's not easy. No, but it's fun, isn't it? Like, this is the wild world of YouTube, because this shows up in the YouTube Shorts feed. So people who've never seen me are like fluffing through and they're at home like vigorously masturbating, and then my head pops up. They're like, and it probably messes up, they were just about to orgasm and it messes them up. And now they're mad. Now they're like, free Palestine. Fuck you, pal. That's literally his name. Says, so if the sun is the power generator, Saturn is the computer, the moon is the overseer of the program, and Earth is the simulation, what are the other planets for? Okay, let's see. I think Mars is the drunk uncle who talks politics at the Thanksgiving table. Triton, one of the moons of the gas giants, is that one school teacher that you remember who kind of was a big influence on you, but also never really amounted to shit. Now I'm just making stuff up because that comment was so weird and complete rubbish. Alexandru says, bro, chill. Ice Spice, missing a chromosome. Welcome to the wild world of public YouTube. Shush enjoys this talk. All right, good. Let's end it. And I love you guys. Fuck Jay Shetty. Fuck Satguru. and we are... Oh, wait. Is there other stuff I can do here? What happens if I push that? Oh, I see. I can see different parts of the chat. What does this do? Creator tools. What if I do creator tools? Oh, I can start a poll. I don't want to do that. What does this button do? Pin to the live stream. Oh, tagging products. I don't have products. And share. Okay, that's cool. All right, guys. Whatever the doc took, I want 2 of them. I'll give you 3, Alexandru, and we out. Peace.